1,318 days till New Holland, fearing grid at 48, which is neutral, and Bitcoin is currently trading at 60.3k. Bitcoin is currently trading in the middle of the falling channel on a daily time frame, currently bouncing from a 200 EMA on a daily time frame, which is pretty nice. Still in a bullish momentum when it comes to the EMA. On the weekly time frame, we're also pretty bullish. You can see we're having a big long shadow of a bottom shadow of a candle, meaning people are ready to buy during the sell-off and buying during the sell-off and during the dump. And you can clearly see it again and again on a monthly time frame, which is a bullish, definitely bullish sign that people are buying during the crash, during the sell-off, and it's bouncing because of them. That much more buyers than sellers. So yeah, but again, we will see if this pressure will continue of selling, if we're gonna sustain, and the buyer amount will be sustainable to have a reversal in the next couple of months or weeks even. So yeah, again, still trading above 60k, which is nice, and we should stick to that. So let's go to the altcoins and let's look at the Ethereum. Ethereum is definitely underperforming compared to the Bitcoin, and because of that, also Ethereum Bitcoin pair is currently on a daily time frame. It's definitely currently trying to break the support of a falling wedge on a daily and weekly time frame. It's pretty visible. So it's trying to break this falling wedge. Would be pretty bad for Ethereum in this case. But it's not just the Ethereum pair. In general, Bitcoin is currently breaking the 57.5% resistance of a BTC dominance, meaning it's gonna eat a lot of altcoins, including Ethereum. And Ethereum dominance is obviously dropping because of that, and much smaller altcoins that has dominance, some meaningful dominance, they dropping even more hardly than Ethereum. So yeah, that's when it comes to the Bitcoin. Again, much more inflow is coming to the Bitcoin rather than altcoins or Ethereum. So let's move to the news. The biggest news, the most recent one is coming from Trump. Again, we're gonna hear a lot of noise from a lot of politicians when it comes to the crypto. You know, back in the days, 2016, all those old cycles, politicians were bearish on crypto, and they were pretty negative in their stances when it comes to crypto. Nowadays, politicians are so bullish on crypto that to the point they want to make it a reserve currency or reserve resource. Times changed really quick. So Trump is saying that banks are unfairly refusing to serve crypto companies. Also, BlackRock Bitcoin ETF has had just one single day of outflows since launching in January, and currently there's $20 billion of inflow and only small amount, like a couple mil of outflow. So there's currently $20 billion in this ETF is locked up. So that's a lot of money for the Bitcoin sentiment and for the liquidity. That's for sure. Because now ETF would be forced to buy the Bitcoin, right, to sustain this ETF, right? That's how ETF works. That's how Bitcoin ETF works. So yeah, more bullish news for the Bitcoin. And let's go to much more bigger and much more troubling news from politicians, which involves conflicts and wars. Again, what's the result, what's the end game for Bitcoin, for example, from any war or any conflict is obviously profits. And Bitcoin will be, and the outcome of any side or any conflict or any war will always be profitable for the Bitcoin, because any instability, chaos will bring people to the Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a stable, safe haven when it comes to that. It's easy to transfer, easy to sell in any country you want, right? So back in the Middle Ages, people used to run from conflicts with gold, then they moved to the fiat, used to run from conflicts, wars with dollars. Nowadays people are running with Bitcoin. Again, it's rough times. Again, the only thing that doesn't change is wars. It is what it is, I guess. So on the recent news, so the biggest conflict that is currently on everybody's ear is Israel and Iran. So let's read some of the news. So Russia started delivering advanced S-400 air defense systems to Iran, meaning more military resources flowing to the Iran. Also, Iran calls on all Muslim nations to end oil trade with Israel. Again, we're also having like some diplomatic war, which it kind of starts from diplomacy that moves towards the military conflict, direct military conflict with invasions and all of the roughness that comes afterwards. Trump, those news we had. Also, pretty huge news from US. Trump and Harris agrees to debate on September 10th, which will happen in a month. Again, big news coming from US. So they both did agree, apparently. They both, which will be pretty interesting to see, because in a previous debate, which was between Biden and Trump, Biden definitely underperformed there compared to the Trump. It was pretty visible, let's just say like that, for both parties. So now they're gonna have a new candidate, which is Kamala Harris, and we'll see how she's gonna perform. She's much younger candidate, meaning she's gonna have much more energy, I guess. At the end of the day, age kind of matters when it comes to the energy, but Trump is also he's pretty solid. He's pretty sharp, right? So we'll see what's gonna be the outcome of that debate. Also, on the recent news, Trump pretty big loud quote. I call it loud quotes. The previous loudest quote that I heard was in a previous election. So I'm pretty sure it was Biden. He said that if you're gonna vote for Donald Trump, you ain't black. So he said it to a black interviewer or some black guys. So he said that if you're gonna vote for Trump, you ain't black. So now we're gonna have pretty much same quote, but a little softer. He said if you're Jewish and you're gonna vote for Kamala, you're gonna need your head examined. But pretty interesting that he's pointing specifically Jews there. So let's hear it. Again, it's gonna be a pretty loud quote.
Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons? Yeah. That's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined.
Again, really loud quote. That's gonna be a really loud quote. So another news, which I would say that's pretty sad one, that's definitely a sad one, that US credit card debt hits all-time high of $1.1 trillion. Again, that's not a corporate debt, that's not a debt of some businessman's, you know, that's a debt from a regular citizens that is stuck literally in a credit debt. For those people, debt is feeling like a prison, it's you're locked up from opportunities, credit history, all of that type of stuff. So yeah, that's sad to see that it's growing, where literally the amount of people that are stuck in a debt is growing. That's just sad to see. Again, if you've been in debt, you probably know what it feels like. I've never been in a debt, but I knew a lot of people who've been in a debt, and it crushes them. It's really, really rough stuff to be stuck in a debt. So that's really sad news to hear, and should be definitely point out that those things are happening. Also, big quotes coming from JP Morgan, big whale in finances. JP Morgan saying that he sees 35% chance of US recession this year, meaning in the next 4 months, again we got 4 months left till the end of this year, that recession may happen. Okay, let's go back to the S&P. I mean, in S&P in a recent week we had pretty bullish bounce, kind of bouncing from 200 EMA, right, on a daily time frame. Again, I don't have TA for the S&P. I'm not currently looking for the S&P. I'm not paying attention that much. Obviously, I heard about the recent crash and all of that kind of stuff, but you can clearly see that S&P was definitely overbought, and those things are pretty healthy. But yeah, the crash was pretty rough one, pretty big one. Now it's kind of bouncing there. We'll see how it's gonna stabilize. If it's gonna stabilize, then it's gonna be pretty good, and definitely is gonna be no recession there. But he's saying there's 35% chance of a recession. Again, we'll see how it's gonna end. 4 months left. And what's gonna be the outcome of the election, right? The end of the election, who's the winner, how it's gonna affect the S&P. It also has a lot of effects for that. So yeah, 4 months left. So Trump on Federal Reserve, in general, he's saying that Fed is doing a bad job, and also he's saying this quote that's I heard in a couple of more news in a couple more news articles. He's saying that U.S. presidents, not just Donald Trump, all presidents should have a say in Fed actions, which is a really interesting thing if you're gonna think about it, because Federal Reserve is an independent system. They don't depend on nobody, right? They making their choices by themselves, how they see it. So now they're gonna be dependent on words from a president. They're gonna have some dependence there. So it's not gonna be that dependent of a system. But again, if it's gonna be profitable for future long-term of United States of America, then it's gonna be a right choice. But again, there's definitely gonna be some discussions about that, if presidents should, let's just say like they have some, should be able to put some pressure on Federal Reserve. Again, we'll see how it's gonna, and we're going back to the Iran-Israel conflict. So Iran and Russia agreed to accelerate strategic partnership. Currently, we're only hearing news from Iran, to be honest. And here we go, French president. So he's saying that the war in Gaza must, not just him, also the President Ursula von der Leyen, which is EU president. They all have released statements saying that ceasefire now. But you know, as always, as any war, any conflict, if you've been paying attention to some conflict, I used to trade back in the days military stocks, so I definitely knew something about the conflict or wars and how to make money out of them. All I'm gonna say is that actions speak louder than words, and this is just words. No, those are no actions. Again, if you wanna stop, if you wanna have a ceasefire, you need to do some action, and meaning some pressure. I'm not gonna say what type of pressure you need to put, but that would have the effect. That would bring ceasefire much closer than just words, because they just words at the end of the day. And again, going back to the Iran-Israel conflict, but this time I guess we're gonna talk about the Israel side. So just in United States, 12 F-22 fighter jets arrived in the Middle East overnight, which probably will be obviously will be on the side of the Israel. Again, a couple of weeks ago, I'm pretty sure it was Joe Biden. He said that United States of America would put a foot on the ground, meaning soldiers, if Iran will invade Israel, or there would be a war, full-scale war, which would again, if U.S. would be fully involved in that with soldiers and all of the military capacity that U.S. has, is definitely not gonna be. And I'm saying this as somebody who used to trade U.S. military sector. It's not just gonna be a war against the conflict between the Israel and Iran. It's gonna be a whole Middle East fighting, just pure war. Again, even though Bitcoin would profit from any war, any conflict, we still don't need no wars, no conflict, because Bitcoin can grow and will grow if there's gonna be conflict or there's gonna be no conflict. Bitcoin can grow without wars. You don't need no proof that it can be a safe haven, right? That you can easily transfer it outside of your country, that you can save your money, right? If your country is in conflict or involved in some conflict, right? That you want to have some safe haven for your money, for your resources. Bitcoin doesn't need that proof. It's already proved that it's independent and worldwide. So again, as a crypto community, we're obviously preaching for, as those politicians, for peace. So yeah, and for the Bitcoin, to the moon, to the moon, to the moon. Currently trading at 60.2K.